write down your answers somewhere where you can revisit them at the end of this course. For each question, please rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 3, where 1 is, I don't feel confident, 2 is, I feel somewhat confident, and 3 is, I feel very confident. Foundations. I know how to make my tone of voice and body language enhance my communication style. I know how to make myself approachable. I am an excellent listener. Relationship building conversations. I can make small talk that helps others feel comfortable to talk about bigger issues. I can effectively deliver an elevator pitch in a variety of settings. I can listen attentively to other people without judgment or distraction. Navigating conflict in tricky conversations. I understand the difference between productive and unproductive conflict. I have helpful language to use to manage a range of conflicts. I tackle tricky conversations head-on rather than avoiding them. Tackling feedback conversations. I am consistent in making feedback conversations constructive and productive. I accept constructive feedback without defensiveness. I know what to do if I get feedback I disagree with. When work conversations get personal. I know what to say and do when someone cries at work. I can comfortably talk to people about mental health challenges at work. I can say no to a request for my time without feeling guilty. How did you do? If you realize that you still have some room to grow, learn, and develop your conversational skills and confidence, then you are in the right place. And if you already feel self-assured, then good for you. And let's see how you can take your approach from good to great. Think about somebody you've met who made a positive impression on you. What did you notice about what they did that had such a great impact? Take a moment to think about who that would be for you. I'll wait. Okay, let's see who you came up with. Did you notice that they stood up straight and tall if they were standing, or they sat up with good posture if they were sitting? Did you see that they were making excellent eye contact with you rather than looking around the room to see who else they could be talking to rather than you? Did you hear them change their speaking pace throughout the conversation, slowing down to explain complex topics, or speeding up to generate excitement? Did they pause long enough for you to be a part of the conversation too? Did they get to the point rather than going around and around in circles? Whether the person who impressed you did some of those or all of those, they were following the 3 V's of communication. Verbal, the actual content of your message. Vocal, how your voice conveys your message. And visual, how your face and body support your message. All 3 of these building blocks come together to create communication and conversations that educate, motivate, engage, and inspire others. You're busy. You're stressed. You're overworked and under-resourced. It's one thing to feel that way, but acting out on these feelings in a way that makes others feel reluctant or even scared to approach you can undermine your reputation and your career. And if your direct reports or superiors or colleagues don't want to approach you, you're likely to miss out on access to timely information, lose personal and professional credibility, not to mention likability, and ultimately be seen as the kind of person who other people don't want to have conversations with. So how do you know if you're unapproachable? You might say things like, I'm too busy because I'm the boss. Hey, those are the rules, I don't make them. Are you new here? Yeah, good luck with that. Let me interrupt you. That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. We don't have the luxury of thinking about things like that. Don't bring me problems without solutions. Your tone might be interpreted as sarcastic, exasperated, curt, brusque, threatening, dismissive, scolding, defensive, patronizing, condescending, exhausted. And your body language may include an expressionless face or an overly expressive face, arms crossed, eyes rolling, hands over your eyes, teeth gritted, scalp massaging, headphones on, being on your cell phone or answering emails while someone else is talking to you, standing up and walking away. And you may be thinking to yourself, that's not me, or I've never heard anyone say that. And maybe that's true. But consider this. If people experience you as unapproachable, how likely is it that they feel comfortable approaching you to give you honest and open feedback? So let's assume it's possible that some people find you somewhat unapproachable some of the time. Let's also assume that if you're being unapproachable, maybe it's for a really good reason. Perhaps you need a little uninterrupted time to get a pressing project finished, or you need some headspace to deal with a personal issue, and you need people to leave you alone. If that's the case, but you haven't figured out how to advocate for your needs, you're likely to push people away permanently. You might get the space you need right now, but it will come at the cost of your relationships, credibility, influence, and impact. So, what can you do instead? Have conversations where you ask for what you need rather than acting out. Try saying, I need a few uninterrupted hours to wrap this project up. I'm going to close my door until 3 p.m. so that I can focus, and then I'll be available to you. This way, you'll be viewed as assertive and considerate rather than unapproachable. You don't need to make yourself available to everyone every minute of the workday, but you do need to make yourself the kind of professional who is seen as inviting and inclusive of other people and their ideas. As much as we'd like to think that our colleagues and clients judge us on our competency and knowledge, it's just not the case. So what do people judge us on first? Warmth. Warmth is often the first trait that people perceive about us, and on the basis of that initial reading, whether we like it or not, people decide whether our intentions are positive or negative. In fact, warmth is considered more important and more influential than competence, our ability to do the job. And while the people with whom we work may forgive us for mistakes like providing the wrong deck for a client pitch or making a calculation error, studies show that a single instance of negative warmth behavior is likely to irredeemably categorize the perpetrator as a cold person. Yikes. So what does that mean? It means that your account executive who gets things done but has a brusque tone with clients over Zoom is costing your company credibility. It means that the finance lead who is brilliant at the money aspects of their job but is described as having an edge that makes colleagues avoid bringing up hard topics with them is putting you at risk. It means the salesperson whose numbers are great but who freezes out junior staff who call them for advice is blocking your talent pipeline. Here are 4 things you can do to bring more warmth to your interactions. 1, smile. Smiling has positive visual, audible, and behavioral impacts. When your colleagues see you smile, they're likely to interpret it as friendliness, happiness, or agreeableness. But they can also hear you smile. According to researcher Ursula Hess, smiles sound bright because of how they change the shape of our mouth, which impacts our voice. But wait, there's more. Because of behavioral social mimicry or mirroring, your colleagues are likely to copy your smile. And when we mirror one another, we feel more positively about the interaction and about us. 2, increase the number of casual conversations you have. This could be as simple as IMing a coworker to say, hey, any new recipes to share? I'm getting bored of what I'm making for dinner. Or picking up the phone and saying, I was just watching the news and it made me sad. Just want to see how you're feeling. And of course, being warm also means being understanding and generous if this isn't a good time for the other person to talk. 3, avoid sarcasm. Sarcasm is a mismatch between vocal, verbal, and visual messages, and especially in a virtual environment, that can be very tricky. An unwanted side effect of the subtle and sometimes not so subtle aggression embedded in sarcastic wit is feelings of distance, hurt, and even anger. Research shows that sarcasm can come across as rude, flippant, and offensive. Not a great way to endear oneself to colleagues. Save the sarcasm for in-person interactions, if at all, but instead replace it with genuine humor. Laughter is contagious and releases both endorphins and dopamine, creating feelings of pleasure and even euphoria. 4, share your own challenges with your colleagues. Professionals are often torn between demonstrating credibility or vulnerability, but if your goal is to be warm, lean into vulnerability. By speaking openly about what you're wrestling with, that maybe working from home is harder than you ever thought it would be, or you're worried about potential layoffs, that you live with somebody who isn't feeling well, whatever it is, you're more likely to engender connection, trust, and empathy. By demonstrating warmth, you're likely to help create a connection that's both meaningful personally and professionally. In order to be a great conversationalist and communicator, you actually need to stop talking. Ironic, isn't it? And what are you supposed to do while you're not talking? Listening. Listening can be a lot harder than talking, and it's actually one of the best ways that we can help other people. Studies show that when people feel listened to, they're more likely to relax and share their true thoughts and feelings with you without worrying about being judged by you. And in order to do it well, you first need to recognize what's likely to get in your way of listening. One reason why listening is so tricky is that we are all distracted by both outside noise and inside noise. Outside noises are external distractions that we're surrounded with every day at work and at home that force us to not pay attention. Conversations, email chimes, cell phones ringing, interruptions. Internal noises are the voices in our heads that distract us from really paying attention to the person we're supposed to be listening to. Worries we have, advice we want to give, explanations we want to offer, reasons why they're wrong, etc. Internal noises also include the voices of bias. They're often unconscious, but they're there, getting in the way of us being able to really listen deeply, equitably, and without judgment. We might listen more to somebody who's a lot like us, based on the similarity bias, or to somebody we've spoken with more recently, an expression of the distance bias, or even to somebody who is alerting us to a potential risk or danger because of our safety bias. And one of the most common biases is known as the closeness communication bias. This is where you actually listen the least to the people you know the best. After all, if you know them so well, you can already predict what they're going to say. Why listen, right? Alternatively, we may unconsciously pay less attention to those unlike ourselves, whether it's because they don't share the same degree as us, or the same first language, or professional status, or country of origin. And to be clear, you're probably not even aware that this is happening. And that's what makes these biases even more important for us to be mindful of. Both external and internal noises keep us from committing to really hearing what the other person is saying, and maybe what they're not even saying, by the people we are supposed to be helping. Another reason that listening is challenging is that very few of us have ever been formally taught listening skills. Think about it. How many math classes, science classes, and language classes did you take in school? Probably dozens. Now, how many listening classes did you take? If you're like most people, the answer is probably somewhere between 1 and none. But it is not too late to learn. Here are 2 strategies to help you become a better listener. Tune in, tune out. By tuning in to the other person, you're demonstrating that they're the complete, undivided focus of your attention. You can do this by making eye contact, leaning forward to them, yes, even over a video call, nodding when they speak, and lightly mirroring their facial expressions. And don't rush them. You might say something like, "You have my attention, so don't feel like you need to rush. I really want to understand what's going on so I can help." You also can tune into the content of what they're saying by paraphrasing them and noticing even small shifts in body language. For example, your colleague might say something like this: "While I'm so excited to have this new expanded role in the company, I also feel like I should be available to my team around the clock." To which you might respond something like, "When you said that you were excited about your new role, you frowned. Did you notice that too?" Tuning in also means paying attention to signs that the other person is done talking about a hard or vulnerable topic. If their sentences start getting shorter, or they're no longer making eye contact with you, or sending other signals that they're done for now, tune into that. You might say something like this: "I'm getting the sense that you may want to wrap this up now. Is that right?" And then follow their lead and keep the door open for future conversations. They may want help, but not right now. And for the record, letting them know that you're available to talk again is a really good way of helping. As for tuning out, turn off to tune out. Turn off your cell phone. Turn off your email chime, your TV, your music. Turn off the soup on the stove if you're working from home. And turn off the voices in your head. Turn off your filters: right, wrong, true, not true, important, not important, my problem, not my problem. By recognizing what gets in the way of your listening with your eyes and your ears, and listening for when people are done talking, you'll be able to help people figure out what kind of help they need from you. And sometimes the only help that somebody needs is to be listened to by you.